All right, so if you watched the discriminant video, you've probably already seen this quick introduction, but I'll just recap it for those who have not seen the discriminant video. So the quadratic formula will work for absolutely any quadratic in expanded form. So I love the quadratic formula because you don't have to think about finding the factors or completing the square or anything like that. It's a straightforward formula that you substitute values in and it will spit out your x-intercepts for you. Okay, there's the quadratic formula where it has come about. So you can see here the quadratic in expanded form. We let it equal 0 because basically we're solving it for x equals 0, sorry, not x equals 0, y equals 0, finding your x-intercepts. So follow through these steps and we're left with this part here, which is what we call the quadratic formula. And it looks a bit messy, but it's pretty straightforward. Any formula is not messy. It's just a matter of substituting values in, working slowly just to make sure you don't make any mistakes, and hopefully at the end of it you come out with the right answer. All right, your key ideas. So basically when your quadratic is in expanded form, okay, you can have up to 2 solutions. So remember your parabola, and let me just quickly draw this for you. So hopefully by now you remember that your parabola can have 2 solutions. So if it's crossing the x-axis twice, it has 2 solutions. If it sits on the line, it has 1 solution. And if it doesn't, it has no solutions. And then you've also got the negative parabola there as well. So we can have 2 solutions, up to 2 solutions. So that's just why we've got 2 versions of the quadratic. Oh, sorry, not the quadratic, the quadratic formula. If there's only 1 solution, then we only need to use this part here. And that's because underneath this square root sign is 0. And that's what I'm talking about in the discriminant video. So I'm not really going to go into too much detail here because this video I want to focus on the quadratic formula, not what this means underneath the square root sign. So if you haven't watched the the discriminant video just yet, I strongly encourage you to have a look. All right, so let's have a look at this worksheet here. So finding features of parabolas using the quadratic formula. Whenever you're doing the quadratic formula, you always need to be in expanded form. Okay, so you can't use the quadratic formula until it's in expanded form. And before you begin substituting, identify your values of A, B, and C. So here A is 4, so remember A is the coefficient of x squared, B is the coefficient of x, so in this case it's 12, and C is your constant. Your quadratic formula, and testing my memory here, so I'm going to write it and then just double check. Okay, so just bear with me for a second. There it is there, negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Fabulous. Let's go back. Okay, I might do this in a different colour just because I like to use colours. All right, and I need my pen on. So, straightforward substitution. So we're solving for x, so I can just say x equals. B is 12, so I'm going to write negative 12. The plus or minus is just saying there could be 2 solutions. We have either the positive part here or a negative part here. And when you think about it, when you take the square root of a number, you can have both a positive and a negative solution. All right, B is 12, so we have 12 squared. I don't have any negative numbers here. I know when I was doing the discriminant, I was using brackets, but unless the negatives are in play, you don't have to do that. So 4 times A, which is 4, times C, which is 9. I'm going to run out of room here. Over 2 times A. That should be a bit longer too, isn't it? 2 times 4. Okay, so let's tidy this up a little bit and hope that I don't run out of too much room. So negative 12 plus or minus. Okay, so I might just do this next to it because I'm running out of room. So 12 squared is 144. And then 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 9. Okay, I can't do. So let's do 4 times 9 is 36. 36 times 4 36 times 2 is 64, so 128, I think. So let's just double check on our trusty calculator. Okay, so 4 times 4 times 9, oh, 144. How did I do that incorrectly? You know, when I was doing it, I thought it was going to be 144. So let's just sort that out. It is 4 times, yep, I know what I did wrong. Okay, doesn't matter. All right, so 144, yeah. So let's change this back to blue. So 144 minus 144 is 0 over 2 times 4, which is 8. Now, if we've got 0 here, that means we're just left with negative 12 on 8. So we've only got one solution for this one. And then we do need to simplify this. You can leave it as an improper fraction, it's probably better. Or you can put it as a mixed number. So 12 over 8 becomes 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2. So we only have one solution for this one, which is negative 3 over 2. Now, let's check on the calculator. So it says to sketch it as well. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm going to clear that. That was from the last video. No. Okay, we'll do a calculator first. So you can use solve to get your x-intercept. So I can't remember what it was. 4, 12, 9. Oops, no, wrong one. 4, 12, 9. 4x squared plus 4, 12 plus 9 equals 0. Don't forget the equals 0, comma x. We're solving for x. Okay, so there's a solution. Okay, so I did do it correctly, which is awesome. Then if you wanted to graph it, so we'll just go to add a graph. Okay, so we have, oh, let me just show you something. You can highlight this, copy and paste, so Control C, okay, and then we can just go here, Control V to paste it. Okay, so you don't have to type it again. And there it is. I might just move this out of the way so we can see there's our x-intercept there, negative 1.5. If you wanted to actually know what that is that 0? Okay, there it is, negative 1.5. Can't see your y-intercept there. So remember you did say to graph it. Let's go back, but it's 9. Okay, so remember whatever your constant is your y-intercept. Now you can see your turning point is at negative 1.5. Okay, or you can use your turning point on your calculator. So remember, you should be using, while doing these worksheets by hand, also supplementing them by checking on CAS. Just make it, you kind of need to know how to do it on your calculator, but also by hand. So checking your answers using CAS is very valuable. All right, let's move on. Let's do F. I'll just do one more. Okay, so doing F. A is negative 3, B is 12, and C is negative 16. So make sure you keep the negatives with the number. All right, so write the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. All right, so negative 12 plus or minus 12 squared. Now I've got negatives here, so I'm going to use brackets. So 4 times negative 3 times negative 16. And then I will put the square root sign on. And then over 2a, so 2 times negative 3. All right, let's see if my maths is a bit better than what it was for the last one. Okay, so negative 12 plus or minus. All right, let's change the color. All right, 12 squared, I know what that is. 144. Okay, all right. 4 times 3. 12, let's work out the easiest way to do this. 4 times 16, I think that's a mistake I made last time. 32. Actually, no, that's, yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking aloud, obviously. 4 times 16. So 2 times 16 is 32. So then 4 times 16 would be 64. 64 times 3, 128, 192. Let's check my maths. Probably sitting there thinking, why don't you just do that in the first place, miss? Instead of wasting our time trying to do things in your head. 192, yay! Okay, now we had 2 negatives in here, a negative and a negative, so it stays positive 192, and then 144 minus 192. Okay, so that means we're going to have the square root of something that's negative. You can work out what it is. It doesn't make any difference. Okay, and the reason it doesn't make any difference because as soon as you get a negative here, oops, can't spell stop. You stop. Okay, so it's a cross stop. And that's because you have no x-intercepts. Okay, so this basically can't be done. It's a square root of a negative number. So we can't go any further. We have no x-intercepts. And that's the importance of the discriminant, which was described earlier in the earlier video. So no x-intercepts, we have to stop. Now, let's just see what your calculator gives you when you do that. So which one were we doing? Negative 3, 12, negative 16. Negative 3, 12, negative 16. Okay, so let's do solve again. Oh, I can just put it in here. Negative 3 squared plus 12x minus 16. And it comes up false. Okay, so if it says false, it means it can't be done. Now let's graph it. So remember, you can highlight, copy or control C, put it in here. Let's go to our other one by pressing tab. Go up, delete. Okay, control. Oh, my copy and paste is not working. There we go. All right, and there it is there. So we can just see the top of it, but you can see how it's not crossing your x-axis, so it can't have any solutions, okay, because the quadratic formula is what we use to find our x-intercept. So if it's not crossing here, obviously it has no solution. If you can't see your graph, remember to change your window so you can zoom out. I prefer to just change the settings. It doesn't really matter about that, so it's more our y that we need to change. Let's do that at negative 20, see if that makes a difference. Okay, so now you can see your y-intercept, which is negative 16, because we can read that straight from the graph. Turning point, you can get, what do we need? Analyze graph. It's a maximum. Go there it is at 2, negative 4. And you should be able to draw it from that. Okay, let's move on because I don't want this video to be too long. All right, question 2. Complete the table below. So we've got another bunch of quadratics. I'm not sure what the difference is between them and the previous ones. Let's maybe just do one of them. Okay, so let's do D. So we'll do question D. So A is equal to 2, B is equal to 6, and C is equal to negative 3. We haven't got one that's had 2 solutions yet. Let's hope that this one, yeah, it looks like this one might have 2. Oh, no, it looks like it has 0. Okay, let's just try. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared. B squared minus 4AC over 2A. Substitute them in, negative 6 plus or minus, I'm going to do this all in one go, 6 squared is 36, minus 4 times A, so I've got a negative here, so I've got it like, I like my brackets, negative 3 times 2 is 6, negative 6 times 4 is negative 24, Just make sure that's all good. A2, yep, over 2a, so 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, let's tidy this up. 36 plus 24, so that's 60, square root of 60 over 4. Okay, so these ones must give you just a rational answer. So you've got surds there as opposed to probably whole numbers. We have 2 solutions in this one. Okay, so we've got no room, that's what we've got. Okay, so let's do it over here. We've got x equals -6 plus the square root of 60 over 4. That's 1, and I'm going to just do the other one down here because we do need to tidy that up a little bit. 60 over 4. Okay, so this square root of 60 can be simplified, and so can the 6 and the 4. So the square root of 60, the highest squared number that goes into that, I know 4 does. Is 4 the highest? Yes, it is. So this is going to become 2 root 15 and over 4. And then things get simplified. So the highest common factor in 6, 2 and 4 is 2. So this becomes -3 plus root 15 over 2. And then you don't really need to do all this working because we've already got it. So -3 minus root 15 on 2. All right, let's check our solution on CAS. Now I'm going to keep that up there. 2, 6, negative. 2, 6, negative. Oh, it's just horrible right in the way, isn't it? Let's try to make it a little bit. Let's just get rid of it. Okay. Can't actually see what I'm doing because I'm off there. Oh, look at all the working out on my calculator. Okay, so let's go back to the calculator screen. Now I've forgotten what the quadratic was. Let's just quickly go back. 2, 6, -3. Okay, so you can see there there's solutions. We have them written differently just because usually the calculator likes the negative to go at the end or taken out as a common factor, which is pretty annoying because you might look at that and think you've made a mistake, but it's actually the same thing. So if we were to expand this part, we would actually get -root 15 minus 3 on 2. And we just had the -3 first. So that was one of our solutions. And then the other one on this side, this one here, is -3 plus root 15 on 2. So exactly the same thing. If you're ever unsure, and I'm just going to clear everything because everything looks messy. You can just go Control Enter and you can get your decimal answers if you're a little bit unsure whether you've done the right thing or not. But in your calculator you should be in exact mode, not getting decimal answers, because in graphing it's much nicer to use exact values. Let's say we didn't have a calculator and we needed to work out what this would be approximately. So the square root of 15, remember you should always ask yourself what's the closest perfect square. So the closest perfect square to the square root of 15 would be square root of 16, which is 4. So you should know that you're just below 4 here. So that'll give you an indication of where you should be graphing it on your axes. All right, so let's just, before we stop, nearly 20 minutes, sorry, have a go at doing these. I know there's no solution there, but you should be using your calculator at the same time, but also ask me if you need any help. And if you haven't figured out by now, all the questions I use on these worksheets were taken from your textbook, so you can check your answers in the textbook if you can find the questions. All right, bye-bye.